A portion of practice is open for the media to watch today, which means the takes will be flowing.
You are Locked On Nebraska, your daily Nebraska Cornhuskers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, and thanks for making Locked On Nebraska your first listen every day. We are free and available wherever you get podcasts and on YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, the #1 sports podcast network, of course, your team every day.
Welcome. You found the Locked On Nebraska podcast. I'm Mitch Sherman from The Athletic. Connor Happer of 1620 The Zone is right there. It is Tuesday in the first full week of Nebraska football camp. Pretty soon, just a day or two from now, Connor, Nebraska will be moving out of the dorms. The Huskers will be leaving the dorms. Can you believe? I feel like they just moved into the dorms.
Dorm life is ending faster than expected. I still think all the freshmen should still have to live in dorms, but I don't even know if that's a rule anymore.
I think they have to live in the dorms for a semester, maybe. And if they show up in the spring, which just about all of them do, then they might get that out of the way. I could be making that up. That could be a different school where that's the policy. We should find out. We'll ask about that and report back.
Somebody.
So they'll be on the practice field, Nebraska. They're practicing in the morning. I thought this was an afternoon situation, but here in camp,
probably different with camp without school. Yeah,
they haven't started school yet. So they're on the practice field in the morning, and about 20 minutes or 25 minutes of this will be open for the media in the middle of the workout. We will also hear today on Tuesday from Rob Aurich, the defensive coordinator, is going to have some things to say. Tyler Yelk, Nebraska's safeties coach, first time in front of the cameras. He came from the Philadelphia Eagles to fill a job on the defensive side of the football. And then 2 to 4 Nebraska football players. That's the word from Keith Mann and his staff of media relations experts. I would presume on the defensive side of the ball will be speaking today.
Good. Let's talk some defense. I'm excited. It's honestly, the defensive side has kind of driven at least our some of our conversations on the morning show over the last couple of days here. I'm endlessly intrigued about it. I think there's a lot of room to grow. And I think there's a real good chance to get a lot better on defense. So I'm curious to see how it's going, just a few days into camp here.
One of the growing talking points, and we won't spend time on this today, but maybe we'll mark it down for a future episode, is this. I'm sensing this from the media as I hear and consume different types of content through the first week of camp.
Yeah. What do you got? What do you glean?
Is the defensive line way better than we're all giving it credit for?
Ooh,
especially the edge rushers.
Yeah. See, I don't know about that. I'm not sure about that spot. I just think my thing on them has been, I just think they'll be a ton better than they were last year. Guys who are coming back should be better because they're in better scheme fits and better situations. And then I think they added a bunch of talent, obviously, as well. I don't know if they're going to be like good or what. Like, I don't know where it's going to end up in the relative thing, but like compared to last year, I think they're going to be a ton better.
Somebody should send us a mailbag question about that, and we'll get into it a bunch on Friday.
Maybe they will.
So today, I woke up this morning and was excited to see that it's the day when the Freaks list comes out. So this is an annual rite of passage in the sports media world. I think this is the best list, for my money, of all the lists that appear in college football all through the year. This is Bruce Feldman who does this. He is my colleague at The Athletic. You could say that I am biased, but I really like this. There are countless lists you get the quarterback tiers, which is also an Athletic produced list. This one predates them all. Bruce has been doing this way back since his time at ESPN and maybe even earlier than that. I'll have to find out like how long this has been going on. But basically what it is, it's now a 100-player list. There's 101 players on the list that came out on Monday of the biggest freaks athletically in the game. So if you run 24 miles an hour and vertical jump 42 inches or bench press 225, 36 reps, you got a chance to be on this list.
Yeah. I have an answer for you, by the way, on how long he's been doing it.
Tell me.
Since 2005. So this is, he's done more than 20 editions of the
He's
Freaks.
into his third decade. Yeah, that's a good that's great longevity. So I love to go through it every year, and sometimes you see numbers in there where I'm like, I don't even know if I can believe that. And I trust things that Bruce says, but there's one in particular in some of these numbers that we're going to go over with players who are not playing at Nebraska, but connected in some to the state of Nebraska. There's one in this list. We'll get through them all, and you tell me if you know which one of the numbers you're just like, I don't know if that's legit. So, as I said, there are no Nebraska players on the list, but you will find 3 players.
Any connections?
Who played high school football in the state of Nebraska. First, Cade Piper, the Iowa center. He played offensive guard last year, moved to center. He's from Norfolk, Nebraska. He was number 22 on the list last year, number 8 this year after a first-team Pro Football Focus All-American season. He owns the Iowa record for the fastest shuttle time by an offensive guard, the fastest 10-yard dash time by an offensive guard, the top vertical jump by an offensive guard at 37.4 inches, and then the back squat record for an offensive guard at 680 pounds. So that's a player that Nebraska probably would have liked to have brought into its program. Did not offer Cade Piper out of high school. He committed to Iowa, his only Power 4 offer, his only FBS offer, when Nebraska had an interim coach in November of 2022. So this is a theme of things that maybe have run Nebraska into a weird spot. Number 11 on the list is Devin Jackson of Oregon. He runs 24 miles an hour. He has a 40-inch vertical leap, can back squat 675 as a 235-pound linebacker. He is from Omaha Burke. Now, I don't think that Devin Jackson was ever going to come to Nebraska it was also during the Frost era, and he was not really all that. He had an early offer from Nebraska and wasn't really all that interested, and looked elsewhere and picked Oregon. Has had a productive career, played in the CFP the last 2 years. Number 75, I can tell you and not feel bad about it that I was not aware of this player until I read Bruce's list today. Trace Thaden, offensive tackle from North Dakota. So he'll be in Lincoln on September 19th. 6'7", 305 pounds. He was 240 pounds and a multi-sport star when North Dakota recruited him from Millard West. How about that?
Yeah. I mean, there's usually one guy on those FCS teams who is like, maybe you can get them at the right position and they kind of pop out of nowhere. There's been a bunch of them from North Dakota State over the years on this list. But yeah, Nebraska's going to have to, those edges are going to have to deal with a 6'7", 300-pound tackle with an incredible wingspan from Millard West.
And probably some motivation to play well in that stadium. Also of note, Nebraska went hard after this player, Jackson Cantwell, who's number 4 on this list, the Miami offensive tackle. His mother is Terry Steer Cantwell. She grew up in Crete, Nebraska, was an NCAA 2-time shot put champion at SMU, and then a U.S. Olympian. So Nebraska ties there. And then this one blew me away. So
yeah, that's
number 28, Chase Mason, South Dakota State quarterback. He threw for 2,000 yards last year, 15 touchdowns, very athletic, good runner, 6'4.5", 240 pounds, 40-inch vertical, runs almost 23 miles an hour, can throw the ball 82 yards in the air. Chase Mason was a Nebraska baseball signee.
He's a player.
Player back in 2021. I don't believe he ever played in a game. I think he was at Nebraska for a fall.
I think it was a semester. Yeah.
Transferred out at the end of the fall semester in 2021, which was his true freshman season. But
he was hurt too. There was an injury there, and that's been a theme in Mason's career. He's on his 6th year, I think. So I know Dan Jackson, who is an Omaha guy who is now coaching at South Dakota State, is very happy to have him for another year of eligibility. One of the best teams in FCS this year, and they got a freak at quarterback, and they do. I mean, he's one of those, he's one of those huge baseball players. Like, if that guy could ever figure out how to like make the make the barrel hit the baseball, it's going to go like 900 feet. And then he could, but then he just decided to play football instead.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't remember exactly what the storyline was there. I know that he was somebody that Nebraska was worried when in the baseball draft in the summer of 2021, that he would get drafted in the top few rounds and then never show up in Lincoln. He did show up in Lincoln and spent a few weeks, months in Lincoln, and then said, I think I want to play football in my home state. So can you tell me the number that you think that I'm not sure about out of all those that I just read?
Now, just to be clear, this is the number that you're not sure about. This is not a number that is. This has been a number that is reported by Bruce. Like, you're not saying that it's fake, right? Okay.
I'm not saying it's fake. It's in the list of players that I just read. I read the number when I was going through the players with Nebraska connections.
How about Devin Jackson running 24 miles an hour?
It's Devin Jackson, but it's not that. I think Devin Jackson maybe is that fast. I mean, he's a 10.5, maybe faster than that now, 100-meter guy on the track. 24 miles an hour is really fast, but there's been talk through his career that he's the fastest linebacker in college football.
Well, we remember him like kicking butt at the 100 and 200 in high school.
Oh, yes. At his school at Omaha Burke, out on the track there. And he has a mother and a father who were great athletes in college. So he's got the bloodlines for sure. No, it's Devin Jackson back squatting 675 pounds. So
I'm trying to do the math in terms of the amount of plates you would need on the bar to do that. So
you would need you would 3 plates is 315, 4 plates is
you're adding another 90, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So
405.
Yeah.
495 is 5 plates. 585.
Like
7 plates. 7. I mean, there are guys. I think the number from Matt Rule was that he mentioned on Saturday in saying that there were perhaps like 50 players who can back squat 500 pounds on the Nebraska roster. And I think that most of those players, most of them are linemen.
Well, and Justin Evans was 700. Yeah, right. Yeah. And which is like that's a great number, obviously, but it makes sense. He's a interior offensive lineman. Same thing as Kay Piper, right? Like, we're talking about a shorter, squattier guy who's like that is what he's built to do. Not a linebacker who has a 40-inch vertical and weighs 235 pounds.
If Devin Jackson actually back squats 675, then I guess it makes sense why he runs 24 miles an hour, because he's got some of the strongest legs anywhere. So good for him. He's very strong, and he's a freak regardless. Okay, we've gone through all these freaks. Let's take a break and come back and talk about what all of this means for Nebraska, that there are all of these players all over the country, many of whom are playing against Nebraska this year, 3, and none on the Nebraska roster after this.
First, a word from the game. Since 1986, the game has been creating classic college hats that fans are proud to wear. Whether you're an alumnus, a current student, a season ticket holder, someone who never misses a game, a great college hat is more than just apparel. It's a way to represent your school wherever you might be. You see these things in airports, not just at the game. We're talking about all across the country. And that's the best part about this. It is a great hat for any setting, any situation. This year, the game is celebrating its 40th anniversary by giving fans a chance to save on some of their most iconic college hats. If you've been thinking about replacing an old favorite, adding a new one to your collection, now is the perfect time. We're talking classic college hats. You might even call them vintage if you were looking at it right now. So that stuff is absolutely in right now. It's fantastic. And like I said, it's good anywhere. You want to represent your school, in this case, Nebraska, of course. Wherever you go, here's your opportunity to do so. With hundreds of officially licensed college hats to choose from, you'll find the perfect fit for game day and every day. Don't miss your chance to celebrate 40 years of the game with 40% off your entire order. 40% off your entire order. Visit thegamecaps.com. Use promo code Locked On at checkout. Thegamecaps.com, promo code Locked On. Celebrate 40 years of the game with 40% off. But don't wait. This anniversary offer won't last forever. All right, so we just mentioned there's, by the way, more than 100 guys on Bruce Feldman's freaks list, 101, including last but not least the Ball State kicker who rounded out the list, which I very much enjoyed.
There's a long snapper in there as well from Michigan. He's Michigan's only player is a long snapper.
That's interesting. I would imagine there's a segment or two on a Michigan podcast about that idea. But no guys who actually play for Nebraska, a bunch of guys that Nebraska is going up against this year, and a bunch of guys that have Nebraska ties, as in maybe you could have imagined a world where they ended up at Nebraska but did not for a variety of different reasons. What do we take away from that idea?
Okay, there's only, as I said, there's one from Michigan, and he's not on the field on offense or defense. Now, I saw Michigan play last year. I saw Michigan on the field against Nebraska, and it's a different team here with Sharon Morgan and Kyle Whittingham in. But I am fairly certain that Michigan still looks very much like a football team that would scare you coming off the bus. And they're going to be physical, and they're going to push people around. And Michigan absolutely has players who would pass the test and be in the conversation to be among the freaks. I don't know why there's not anybody there, why there's nobody that stands out. Maybe this is a bit of a down period for the Wolverines. Ohio State has just two players on this list. Jeremiah Smith, who is number 2, and he's most definitely a freak. And then a walk-on defensive back. Yeah. So here's what I'm saying. Don't get all excited because there's nobody from Nebraska on this list. It is an exhaustive job for Bruce Feldman to put this together, but there is no way to be entirely all-inclusive in covering the entire sport of college football and saying you only have 100 spots. Justin Evans could be on this list. You could put him in there and just say, he back squats 700 pounds and whatever else you want to write up, and he could be there.
Well, I mean, look, please don't freak out about this. First of all. Second of all, it's important to note that this is not a list of the best players in America. This is just a list of players with a bunch of weird, outstanding traits that you don't often see, which does not make you a good football player. Now, there are a bunch of really good football players on this list. So, there's a separation that I think is really important there. So, the segment that we're doing is not Nebraska needs more freaks. Nebraska needs more guys on this list. Yeah, they need better football players. It'd be nice if they had a guy pop or, a guy or two pop on this list. And you know what's funny about this, Mitch, is there's a lot of these guys who are way lesser known players, walk-ons, guys who came from way under the radar. And then it turned out they had this outstanding, measurable trait that was measured by the time they got to college. So some of it is just luck, kind of what you're running into. A lot of times what you're talking about on some of these guys is they talk about being country strong and stuff like that. Some of the legendary stuff, that's what Bruce is trying to, I think, find here. So
absolutely. He's looking for great stories. And in some cases it helps to be on a team that's a fantastic team. And then other times it doesn't. He'll find players from North Dakota, or he'll find somebody from an obscure FCS school. I'm sure there have been, I don't know that there are any on this list. I'm sure there have been some maybe there have not, Division II player or something like that. Definitely FCS. So yeah, you could scour over the Nebraska roster and make a Nebraska freaks list, let's say 10, and put people like Williams Winery and Justin Evans and Carter Nelson on the list. And there are others. The list goes on. I think Brendan Black, the transfer from Iowa State at offensive guard for Nebraska, who can put up 30 plus reps of 225 on the bench. He would be worthy of a spot. So it's very subjective. It is a chore to put this thing together, but it is by no means the definitive 100 best athletes in the country.
Now, with that being said, I wouldn't mind, I think one of the things that we'll probably end up talking about at some point, either this camp or during this season, and it's been brought up before, I do feel like Nebraska needs more explosive athletes and longer explosive athletes. You know what I mean? I think, you got a bunch of good football players. And I'm specifically referring to the defensive side. I think like they have a certain kind of type of guy, and it's not the fastest or the lengthiest, type of player. They've had a couple over the years, but there's sort of like a type that Nebraska's had on the defensive side. I think they need a couple of those kind of, guys that throw the mold away at least a little bit. Now, are they going to end up on this list? Who knows? But it's a pretty stock, like defense is what it looks like to me for Nebraska at this point, with not a lot of quote unquote freak guys.
Yeah. Okay. So good discussion on the freaks list. Check that out at the Athletic if you are so tempted to do. Something else to mention, this does directly involve Nebraska from Monday. The AVCA preseason volleyball poll came out, and Nebraska checked in at number 1, receiving 57 of the 63 possible first place votes. 11 matches scheduled against preseason top 25 teams, including 4 against top 10 teams. Texas checks in at number 2. Is that correct? Texas is number 2? Yes.
You got it.
So Nebraska, Texas in Las Vegas, T-Mobile Arena, August 30th on Fox is something to mark your calendar for right now. Can Nebraska finish the season at the top of the poll? It seems in many recent years, Nebraska has started in this position, but has not finished there since 2017.
They've spent a lot of weeks at number 1, including actually, I could tell you exactly how many, 124 weeks all time at number 1 in the coaches poll, the most of any program in the country. They've also been number 1 to start the season in 3 out of the last 5 years. Of course, none of which they have won a national championship. So that is important to recognize. Yeah, that'll be the question for them the entire year. Can they finish the season as number 1? You don't even have to be number 1 all the way through the season. You just want to be number 1 at the end, like Texas A&M was last year.
Something that amazed me that I heard about them when I was in Lincoln on Saturday for Nebraska Football Fan Day. Nebraska volleyball is not doing that this year. Last year and many years around the red-white match, the red-white exhibition match, they have had a day with the fans to be able to line up and get autographs. And last year, the lines were so long, and they only have a certain amount of hours in the day. Like, they can't make the players sit there for 6 hours and sign autographs and meet all the fans and then try to play an exhibition later that day. Like, somebody will blow a hamstring out because they were sitting there for too long. The line was so long that they missed being able to meet many of the fans who lined up. This year, they're not having that event. I would think in part because it's just impossible to do it and meet the demand. You're going to make a lot of people unhappy if you say, hey, public, you're welcome to come in and meet this team, and then you can only accommodate, say, 20% of the people.
Yeah. I mean, they've way outgrown the old stuff. They've like there's just certain things that you could sort of set your calendar to and your watch to. It's a different deal now. They have outgrown some of the things. Hell, they've outgrown multiple arenas in the last like 15 or so years. So not a surprise to not do that.
Their exhibition match, their red-white this year, is coming up on Sunday at Pinnacle Bank Arena as they put the finishing touches on the reconstruction renovations at the Bob Devaney Sports Center. So that's on TV. So you can check that out, and I'm sure it'll be sold out. Okay, let's take a break, come back, and discuss what's on tap Tuesday in Lincoln and some interesting developments from over the weekend that we've yet to discuss on the Protect College Sports Act. We won't put you to sleep, we promise. But first, the message from FanDuel. Locked On Nebraska is brought to you by FanDuel. Baseball fans, if you think you know who's hitting a homer today, FanDuel is giving you a free chance to call your shot with daily dingers. It's easy to play. You just make a free pick for who you think will hit a home run in a respective game. And if you're right, you'll receive a profit boost to use on your next bet for a chance at extra winnings. Best of all, you can make a free pick every day throughout the Major League season. Daily Dingers is another fun way to stay engaged with every day's games, whether you're following your favorite team or keeping an eye on marquee matchups across the league. Every game has someone capable of going deep. Well, we think so. Although if you are watching the Royals it's Monday night as we're recording this, and they get to face Tarek Skubal in his LA Dodgers debut. So check on Tuesday and see if the Royals had a chance to hit a home run. I don't know. I'm going to say they don't hit a home run here.
Don't do anything against Skubal. So you succeeded if you didn't do that last night.
Speaking of the Royals, though, sometimes there's a hitter who's been on a hot streak. Maybe that's Jack Caglione, who's been hitting home runs at a rate that might make him someone to take a look at in this kind of an event. That's always the first thing you want to look at when you make your daily Dingers pick. So are you ready to play your game today? Join the action at FanDuel.com. That's FanDuel.com to play daily Dingers and make your free pick on who is hitting a home run. Play ball and swing for the fences on FanDuel, an official partner of the MLB. All right, welcome back. Final segment of this Tuesday episode of the Locked On Nebraska podcast. Mitch Sherman, Connor Happer with you. So what are we expecting on Tuesday to see at practice as Nebraska's out on the field in full pads? We get to watch for a period of time. Should we run to the running backs, to the defensive line, to the quarterbacks, and post up at that position group? Or what's on your mind? If you weren't getting off the air from your radio show and you were there in Lincoln, where would you focus your attention?
Maybe I could hightail it down there and pull off a feat unknowns to man and make it down there in like 20 minutes or something. No, I don't think I can. But
duck out of the studio early. You could do the last segment of the show from the car.
From the car. Interesting. That's an interesting idea. I have to think about that. Because I do want to go to at least one of these before the camp ends. So we'll try and make that happen. But how I usually approach these is I go where people are not to see what people don't report on or don't see.
You go check out the kickers.
Well, not that deep a cut. Maybe I'll catch him a little bit. I'll tell you what, like I'm interested. I want to see how, or like I want to be around Rob Aurich. I want to see how he coaches. We've heard so much about his teaching progressions and all these different things. Like I want to see it in action. I want to see that stuff work. I know, that's my guy. And maybe if someone got a picture of us together, like I wouldn't be that disappointed about it. But like, you
got to come to practice.
I know I got to get over there. But I want to see how that stuff.
Tomorrow would be a great day for that. And he's talking to the media
and in person. And then I think there's a couple, position battles on that side of the ball that are fascinating as well. So, I mean, that's kind of where I'm going first. I have really been leaning into the defensive side over the last couple of weeks. I'm interested.
It's good that Tuesday is defense day, and I'm kind of interested to hear from Tyler Yelk. Anytime you talk to a coach for the first time, it's enlightening. We had some of those in the spring with Roy Manning. I like talking to Roy Manning. I don't think. Maybe I just wasn't there. We hear from Corey Brown, Nebraska's defensive line coach. I believe he did do a media session, but I probably wasn't there for that in the spring, and maybe was traveling or caught that on social media or something like that. But anyway, Tyler Yelk bringing NFL experience and has some knowledge of this Rob Aurich defense and Rob Aurich also, because the last time that he had anything to say at all, like Rob Aurich hasn't popped up on like a random podcast or anything like that. It's been, head in the film room and, like the Cam Lenhart thing. I'm sure this will come up tomorrow. Are you a mad scientist? Like Cam Lenhart said you were a mad scientist, and there'll be some silly like joke that's not actually funny unless it's said in the media room type of situation that happens. I think it's going to be good to hear from Aurich because it's been several months. You got to go back to late March,
Yeah.
mid-March when we heard from him. So we're talking almost 5 months ago.
Yeah, no, seriously. I mean, a lot has changed since then. So want to see what the vibe is like on that side of the ball for sure.
I'm going to check out the competition in the secondary. I think there's some heated battles there at a cornerback position, and I think also at safety. I think Nebraska has Donovan Jones at that nickel corner spot, which is kind of like a hybrid nickel corner safety, whatever you want to call it.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have Jameer Khan and you have Dwayne McDougal, who are probably at the top of the list to start at the other safety spots. But I don't know that either one of those is necessarily all that secure because of players like Caleb Benning and Rex Guthrie and some others, Justin Rhett, who came on late last season, the Georgia transfer. There are players who are pushing. I think they have some depth there. And we're going to hear from Yelk, who coaches that position, and it might be a day to talk about DBs.
Yep. Plenty of intrigue, honestly, in a lot of positions back there. So I'm curious to see what it looks like.
Also look at the linebackers with Owen Chambliss and Vincent Shavers and Dexter Foster. I think that's the top three for those two spots at inside linebacker, and they can do some rotating there. I think it's
definitely
it's a Sam and a Will kind of position, kind of situation where they don't necessarily do the same thing, and Owen Chambliss is probably kind of here, like a notch above the other two. But I do think that they're somewhat interchangeable, and they can rotate a bit.
Yeah, I would imagine that Shavers has some work to do coming off of last year, catching up with those two. So we'll see what that looks like.
And then finally, from the weekend, we didn't get to this on our Monday show. So the Protect College Sports Act did not make it to a vote in the U.S. Senate, although there was lots of drama flying around late Friday night. Maybe in mid-September, when the Senate reconvenes, they will vote on this. They say the senators say that they're going to prioritize it, and they're going to get it to a vote, and they're going to get it in front of the House, and they're going to get it to the president's desk. I have my doubts, but there were some interesting provisions that emerged from the latest drafts. Like it was close to getting to a vote. It just didn't quite cross all the T's and dot all the I's before midnight arrived on Friday night, Saturday morning. So there's one provision that prohibits coaches in the postseason, or I guess in the regular season too, from working for two schools at the same time. Like the Lane Kiffin rule, it was dubbed. We've seen others do that too. Scott Frost, when he left UCF, worked for two schools at the same time, coaching UCF in the Peach Bowl and recruiting for Nebraska. If this PCSA goes through with this provision written into it, you will no longer be able to do that according to federal law.
Why is that a problem? Whatever. It's so stupid.
I don't know.
Just cherry pick a bunch of rules like, oh yeah, hey, I don't like how that happens once every.
Well, players can't transfer
year.
in the middle of the season, right? Like we're not to that point. You can't transfer in the middle of the season. So why should coaches be able to?
I don't know. I guess. Yeah.
And then there's this one. Power 4 membership would be capped at 19. The Big Ten right now is at 18. And I don't know who the Big Ten might want to add to get to 19. Can't really think of that. Maybe a school in the state of Indiana. There's two other Big Ten teams, but 19 would be the top. That's it. You can't go over 19. And the provision also says, I don't know why I keep saying provision, whatever. It's the rule. It also says that any school that's opting to jump conferences would have to be an independent for 5 years and lose 5 years of media rights money in order to make that jump, unless you jump and declare those intentions in the first 180 days after the bill passes into law. Then you could just go and be in a new conference.
Awesome. New conference transfer portal whenever this goes through. Fun.
Mm-hmm. You got a 180-day transfer portal for schools to leave their conferences. So if Miami wants to leave the ACC and go join the SEC or the Big Ten, you got 180 days to do it from the time this passes into law, if that ever happens. And then if not, you really can't ever do it. I mean, unless you want to be an independent for 5 years.
Maybe the Big Ten should kick somebody out in order to make room for, because they can only have a maximum of 19. You're always holding one for Notre Dame, like you said, but maybe we kick out Rutgers and Maryland and bring in,
Miami,
whoever else.
Notre Dame. Miami, Notre Dame.
Yeah, Notre Dame, like I said, Notre Dame's going to have a spot earmarked for him. So you want to go after Miami and like Clemson or Florida State or something like that?
Yeah, I was going to say North Carolina, but
okay.
That's a little bit different. You don't want to be a prisoner of the moment. That's the thing that's always puzzles me about conference realignment. And it's a great benefit to some teams, has been a great benefit historically when a team rises up and has one or two good years, and then all of a sudden, boom, you're in a big new conference. And sometimes it works out great, like it did for Creighton basketball. Other times, it can fall flat. Like should North Carolina be penalized as an attractive school to join the Big Ten just because they're going through it with Bill Belichick right now?
Well, I mean, first of all, I don't know what makes North Carolina an attractive school for the Big Ten, like other than just greed and like, it's like, well, why not? We got to add another team. Let's add North Carolina.
Prestige, history, population.
What would North Carolina bring to the table that the Big Ten, like it would just be another piece of the pie that you'd have to split. Like North Carolina's not bringing anything more to the table.
I mean, basketball.
Yeah, I mean they do have the matters a lot.
The continued march toward truly being a national football conference. You can go from Seattle to Chapel Hill and LA to I'm just trying here to make it make sense.
No, yeah. It's like I hope they don't add anybody. I hope the Big Ten doesn't add anybody. If they do add anybody, I hope it's Notre Dame. And I hope we don't have another round of conference realignment because I think that whole thing is stupid and I want it to be over. So
anyway, yeah, I don't know. The Senate doesn't come back until the middle of September. They're in session for a couple of weeks and then back out in early October. And at that point, you're pretty much to the midterms. How could it ever even, like, in what world are we talking about the midterm elections here on this show? But like it's actually relevant to college sports in Nebraska and the Big Ten and all of this stuff that they get a vote on this bill that would, when you say Protect College Sports Act, it's like the Reshape College Sports Act. Right. You're talking about a $48 million salary cap, like internally. It's more than double.
It should be called the Protect College Sports from Yourself Act.
Yeah.
That's what it is. Because I have maybe it works out great, but at the very least, the people who are in charge right now wouldn't be left at their own devices to destroy it, which is a positive. But I can't tell you that it would work out very well.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we'll come back to that in the middle of September when the Senators are back in DC working. They're on a recess right now.
They're always
okay.
On recess.
Yes, except us. All right. Thanks for tuning in today to this Locked On Nebraska program. Be sure to join us tomorrow. We'll have observations from Tuesday's open period of practice and the interviews with the defensive coaches and players. Make sure you follow us on social media to get all of the latest updates. And thanks for making Locked On the #1 sports podcast network. For those of you on video, we're going to send you right now to the first ever 24/7 National Locked On Podcast Network YouTube channel. And on audio, make your second listen Locked On College Football. Thanks for joining us today.